As the rusted gates of Blackwood Manor groaned open under my trembling hands, a chill seeped through the fog-shrouded dusk, wrapping around me like an unwelcome embrace from the past. Overgrown ivy clawed at the stone walls, murmuring secrets in the wind that rustled through the untamed gardens, while the manor's jagged silhouette loomed against the fading light, its mismatched arches and facades hinting at centuries of forgotten hands that had shaped it. I stepped forward, gravel crunching beneath my boots like brittle bones, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay, pulling me deeper into the isolation of these misty hills. My sister and brother trailed behind, their faces shadowed by the same uneasy anticipation that quickened my pulse, our shared history a fragile thread drawing us to this forsaken inheritance. As we crossed the threshold into the cavernous foyer, the air inside Blackwood Manor felt thicker, almost alive, carrying faint sounds of distant murmurs that vanished when I strained to listen. The musty scent of aged wood and forgotten secrets clung to everything like a shroud woven from the breaths of long-dead inhabitants. Dust motes danced in the dim light, filtering through cracked stained glass windows, casting fractured rainbows across the marble floor veined with cracks like old scars. I could already envision the renovations, stripping away the decay to reveal the profit beneath, turning this crumbling relic into luxury condos or a high-end hotel. The place had been on the market for years, rumors of its haunted reputation driving the price down to a steal. As an architect with a knack for flipping properties, I saw opportunity where others saw ruin. Avery, ever the historian, ran her fingers over a faded tapestry hanging crookedly on the wall, its threads depicting a medieval hunt scene mottled with mildew. Her eyes lit up with scholarly curiosity I both admired and envied, her dark hair falling in loose waves as she tilted her head.
"This place is a time capsule, Nathan,"
she said, her voice resounding in the vast space.
"Look at these details. The weave suggests 17th century craftsmanship. Imagine the stories woven into it."
Jamie, our pragmatic engineer brother, eyed the sagging beams warily, his broad shoulders tensing as he prodded a loose floorboard with his boot. "Stories won't hold up the roof," he muttered gruffly, his skepticism always grounding us. "Structural integrity first, Nathan. We flip this quick and get out before it collapses on us." We assigned rooms quickly, dividing the manor like conquerors claiming territory. I claimed the master suite upstairs, its four-poster bed draped in moth-eaten velvet that evoked uneasy memories of childhood nightmares, feverish dreams where shadows came alive, murmuring accusations of abandonment. The room was cavernous, with heavy brocade curtains blocking the moonlight and a massive oak desk scarred by time. Avery took the book-lined study on the second floor, its shelves groaning under leather-bound tomes smelling of age and decay, a perfect haven for her academic pursuits. Jamie opted for a ground-floor chamber near the exit, always the practical one. His room was sparse, with just a narrow bed and a window overlooking the overgrown gardens, as if anticipating a hasty retreat. Over sandwiches in the dining hall, we laughed about old times, racing through London parks before the accident shattered everything. The grand hall featured a long oak table scarred by centuries of use and crystal chandeliers dangling like skeletal fingers from the ceiling. We spread our meager meal on a dusty tablecloth, the bread stale, but the company familiar. Avery regaled us with tales of childhood mischief, her laughter light, yet edged with something unspoken. Jamie chuckled along, but his eyes darted to the shadows pooling in the corners. Beneath the surface, tension simmered, old arguments about who abandoned whom after our parents' crash bubbling like poison in a well. I threw myself into work, drifting away. Avery buried herself in books. Jamie shouldered the practical burdens. We were siblings bound by blood and loss, yet the manor amplified the fractures in our bond. That first midnight, a low rumble shook the foundations, jolting me awake in a cold sweat. It sounded like thunder trapped underground, vibrating through the floorboards into my bones. I sat up in the four-poster bed, heart pounding, as the velvet drape swayed from an unseen wind. My room had transformed. The bland, peeling walls now bloomed with ornate Victorian wallpaper, its floral patterns twisting into grotesque shapes that writhed in the moonlight. Faint laughter drifted from the hall, mingled with the clink of glasses from a party long ended, the sounds fading just as I reached the door. I stumbled into the corridor, the air thick with cigar smoke and perfume. My pulse raced as I checked on Avery and Jamie. They were fine, rubbing sleep from their eyes and dismissing it as settling timbers or my overactive imagination. "Old houses creak, Nathan," Jamie said, clapping my shoulder with forced reassurance. But doubt gnawed at me, a persistent murmur in my mind, as if the manor itself were testing us. The next day, we sketched the layout in the bright morning light piercing the grimy windows, my architect's eye noting odd mismatches. Hallways longer than the exterior suggested, rooms misaligned with our blueprint. Avery pored over faded maps in the study, her fingers tracing lines with excitement, while Jamie hammered loose panels, muttering about load-bearing walls. The manor felt deceptively normal in daylight, its decay almost picturesque, with ivy clawing the stone facade and birds nesting in the eaves. We briefly explored the grounds, the overgrown gardens a tangle of thorns and wildflowers. But an unnatural chill lingered, as if the sun couldn't fully penetrate the estate's aura. At midnight once more, the library transformed into an 18th century salon, the air thick with murmuring voices and the scent of beeswax candles. Ghostly figures in powdered wigs debated politics around a harpsichord that played itself, their words seeping into my thoughts like icy fingers, traces of revolutions and betrayals that mirrored my own regrets. I reached out, my hand passing through a spectral gentleman's coat, unleashing a wave of disorientation. The figures ignored me, yet their hollow eyes pierced the veil. Touching a wall in the ballroom hurled me into a fleeting vision of redcoats clashing with rebels, bayonets flashing in torchlight, the sharp scent of blood filling my nostrils. Their terrified eyes locked onto mine, as if I were the anomaly, an intruder from another time, pleading silently for help I couldn't give. I staggered back, the vision dissolving into the present, leaving me gasping on the cold floor. The hauntings escalated with each passing night, the manor's grip tightening like a noose. Avery found a diary hidden in the study's secret compartment, its yellowed pages bound in cracked leather and chronicling temporal traps by a 19th century scholar named Edmund Blackwood. The entries described the manor as a nexus of fractured time, where eras bled into one another, trapping souls in eternal loops. The house feeds on regret, one passage read, the writing faded, but the words chilling. Avery read aloud by candlelight, her voice trembling with fear and fascination as shadows danced on the walls like eager listeners. Jamie, ever the skeptic, stumbled into a 1920s speakeasy in the basement one evening, the dim space suddenly alive with jazz music and the clink of illicit bottles. Flappers in beaded dresses twirled around him, offering drinks that scorched his tongue with phantom gin, their laughter turning to screams as the vision warped into a raid, gunfire resounding in his ears. He emerged, pale and shaken, a burn mark on his lip that faded by morning, but left him withdrawn. During a late-night wander, a hallway stretched into a medieval dungeon for me, its stone walls dripping with moisture and the air heavy with the stench of rot and despair. Skeletal hands grasped at me from iron-barred cells, icy fingers brushing my skin and mirroring my guilt over drifting from family after the accident. The prisoners, their eyes hollow sockets filled with blame, murmured my name in voices that sounded like our parents. I fled, heart hammering, but the experience lingered as a festering wound in my psyche. The manor wasn't just haunted. It was alive, probing our deepest shames and weaving them into its temporal web. Arguments flared as the days blurred into a haze of unease. Avery wanted to study it, her historian's passion overriding caution, insisting we could document and perhaps publish findings that would revolutionize our understanding of time.
"This is unprecedented, Nathan. We can't just run,"
she argued in the dining hall, her eyes alight with manic energy. Jamie, pacing like a caged animal, wanted to flee, his practical nature screaming that no profit was worth this madness. "We're not ghost hunters. We're flipping a house. Pack up and go before it swallows us whole," he growled, slamming his fist on the table. I, caught in the middle, dreamed of mastering it for gain, harnessing the temporal anomalies for groundbreaking architectural innovation, or selling the story to investors. But beneath my bravado, fear coiled in my gut, the manor's murmurs growing louder, more insistent. We uncovered the alchemist's curse in the diary's final pages. Edmund Blackwood, obsessed with immortality, had built the manor on ancient ley lines, blending eras in chaotic collages to defy death. His rituals tore the fabric of time, cursing the estate to ensnare anyone with unresolved regrets. As we delved deeper, the roads outside looped back inexplicably, trapping us in a bubble of warped reality. No cell signal, no escape. The village we'd come from vanishing into mist-shrouded hills. Supplies dwindled, and paranoia gripped us. Every creak was a harbinger, every shadow a threat. My past warped in horrifying ways. A childhood picnic in the manor's overgrown gardens twisted into a plague-ridden horror. The sunny memory corrupted as loved ones' faces rotted before my eyes, buboes swelling on their skin while they laughed obliviously. Our parents appeared in visions, their car crash replaying in the foyer, but this time with us as helpless witnesses. Avery confessed similar torments, her scholarly pursuits morphing into inquisitorial trials where books burned and she was accused of heresy. Jamie relived the accident night after night, the screech of metal and shattering glass blending with speakeasy jazz or dungeon screams. Desperation drove us to the attic, and inside we found a ritual chamber, a forbidden space we'd long avoided, reached by a hidden staircase that groaned like a dying beast. The attic was a cavern of cobwebs and arcane symbols etched into the rafters, illuminated by flickering oil lamps that ignited themselves upon our entry. Timelines converged in storm-ravaged chaos. Bloodied gladiators clashed with World War soldiers, bayonets morphing into swords mid-thrust, while orphaned children from Victorian workhouses wailed amid the fray, their tiny hands clutching our clothes. The air crackled with energy, thunder rumbling overhead as rifts tore open, swirling vortices of color and sound threatening to drag us into oblivion. Avery, clutching the diary, deciphered a reversal ritual scrawled in faded Latin, her voice steady despite the terror.
We need to anchor ourselves with something personal, blood and heirlooms,
she shouted over the din. Jamie, ever the protector, lunged to shield us, but vanished into a rift, his scream resounding like our parents' crash and twisting into a cacophony of shattering glass and ancient battle cries. Panic surged through me as I watched him pulled into a vortex of swirling errors, his form distorting like melting wax. I anchored him with our heirlooms, a locket from our mother, a pocket watch from our father. Clutching them tightly as I thrust my hand into the rift, the blood oath trembled on my lips, a desperate vow. By blood and bond we reclaim what is ours. I sliced my palm with a shard of glass from a shattered window, letting crimson drops fall into the chaos. The manor resisted. Skeletal hands from my dungeon vision reappeared, clawing at me. But Avery chanted the incantation, her words weaving a counterspell that tugged at the threads of time. Jamie's hand emerged from the rift, grasping mine in a vice-like grip, his face ashen, yet alive. We hauled him back as the temporal storm raged around us, gladiators dissolving into mist, soldiers fading into silence, the orphan's cries softening to whimpers. The attic shuddered, symbols on the rafter glowing with otherworldly light before dimming. As the chaos subsided, the manor seemed to exhale, the air growing still, the murmurs silenced. We collapsed onto the attic floor, breathless and battered, the heirlooms warm in my bloodied hand. Exhausted but alive, Avery, Jamie, and I stumbled down the creaking stairs as the house settled into its original, dilapidated form. No more shifting rooms, no more murmurs from the past. Outside, the grounds had normalized. The looping road straightened into the misty hills we'd driven through days ago. the fog lifting like a drawn-back curtain. We piled into the car, the engine roaring to life as if eager to flee, and sped away from Blackwood Manor, its jagged silhouette shrinking in the rearview mirror, scarred walls and faded runes a testament to the battle we'd won. In that frantic escape, our fractured bonds mended. The ordeal stripped away years of resentment, forging us anew through shared survival. Avery's intellect, Jamie's pragmatism, and my ambition, uniting not for profit, but for life itself. Back in London, I returned to my architectural drafts, infusing my designs with a reverence for history's weight, each blueprint a quiet rebellion against time's chaos. We sold the manor to developers, pocketing a modest fortune that felt like blood money. I kept a small etched runestone as a memento, its cool surface a reminder of the nexus we'd tamed. Yet normalcy proved elusive. Subtle traces persisted. A midnight clock chime in my apartment, mimicking the manor's rumble, or a fleeting chill in the air like that first dusk at the gates. In a quiet moment, gazing into my mirror, I saw my reflection faintly overlaid with the alchemist's bearded face, his eyes gleaming with immortal hunger. The curse lingered with me, a fragment of eternity's trace, murmuring that the rusted gates we'd crossed were never truly behind us, only waiting in the fog-shrouded corners of time for our return.
Hey guys, it's Malice here. I really appreciate you sticking around until the end of the story. I'm a one-man operation and trying my best to grow, so if you like what you just heard, please leave me a like. Subscribe if you want to hear more, and please send me any reading requests you might have. I'm always struggling to find new content. Thanks again, and stay scared.